John O'Kane from the Press of Atlantic City. Good morning, John. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, Dave. How's it going?
Hey, man. Got about 10 minutes or so to wax poetic on high school wrestling. So what do you got for us this week?
I love it.
What do you got for us this week, man?
Yeah, actually, I got to start, you know me and my shameless plugs. I got to start off giving my middle school guys a plug. We're a cool event over at Epsigami, the Galway Township Middle School wrestling, Buna Middle School, two of the top middle school teams around. We're going to be wrestling alongside of that Epsigami quad, Cedar Creek, Kingsway, and Buna Regional High School. So that should be a lot of fun.
Oh, nice. All that stuff going on at the same time?
Yeah, exactly. And that's a nice little quad there, too. The Epsigami hosting Buna, Kingsway. Buna and Kingsway are really strong. Buna's kind of looking for a bounce back from the St. Augustine loss last week. St. Augustine, obviously, a really tough team. Kingsway, you got the Kinner brothers. The bigger Kinner's actually nationally ranked. I read a story last week about him trying to his goal is to be that last guy to face Nick Suriano during his high school career.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, and he is nationally ranked. He could possibly get there and do it.
Yeah, how far did he make it last year in states? I know he had a pretty nice run.
He was actually one round short of placing, so I guess you would consider that, top 12 kind of thing. He was one win away from getting in that top 8 place.
Nice. That would be really interesting. I mean, obviously, anybody in wrestling circles knows about Nick Suriano, undefeated throughout his high school career, 3 state championships. You think anybody can beat him this year?
I mean, to be honest with you, if anybody could do it, it would be Kinner. I mean, Kinner's nationally ranked. He's got the pedigree. Unbelievably, he's one of those guys always scoring, always going forward kind of thing. And not that I would ever doubt Kinner, but like we keep saying, Nick Suriano just seems like he's on a different level. Doesn't seem like he's the type to read the press clipping, so to speak. He just finds a way to keep getting better and better and better and better. He's one of those guys that kind of wrestles with a chip on his shoulder. So
what makes him so good?
Never know.
What makes a guy like Suriano so good?
Suriano, I mean, from everything you read and see, and the guy's just constantly, he's one of those guys that's just kind of addicted to the sport. I mean, he's all wrestling. I mean, when he's home, he's thinking about wrestling. When he's away, he's thinking about wrestling. When he's at school, he's thinking about wrestling. He's working out. Nobody can match his work ethic. And we were joking around. He's also one of the biggest 126 pounders I've ever seen. We were joking around. I bet he weighs about $175 in the off season. Yeah, but he really is. I mean, he's got that skill set to go along with the strength and athleticism, and he's just a perfect combination. He's going to go down as one of the top 4 or 5 in the state in history.
And he's going to what, Penn State, I guess?
Yep, already committed to Penn State, and again, he's trying to join Anthony Ashnault, who's up at Rutgers, having a heck of a career. Those guys with a really nice win last night. They shut out Michigan Michigan State for their first, which is a special moment for those guys. Ashnault, everybody knows, is top 5 in the country in the NCAA, so that's pretty good company there. If he could join Ashnault as the second 4-time unbeaten state champ.
John, talk about some of these quads. We're going to see these for the next couple of weeks on Saturday mornings. And how do these quads come about? How do these teams get together? And obviously, you want to face teams that are kind of on your level and are going to test you as you get into February. What's the process like in putting these quads together?
It's different. It varies because you're trying to get your conference schedule out of the way. So you're wrestling your conference matches. Then you want to kind of go out of conference and challenge yourself and test yourself. This is a non-conference for Buna, so to speak. This is, Cedar Creek's in their conference, so that'll be a conference match. But Epsigami's actually a crossover. Now, from Buna's perspective, you're getting a non-conference match in with Kingsway, who's tough. You get to see the Kinner brothers, that kind of thing. You get a crossover against Epsigami, who's a traditional power. And then you get a conference match with Cedar Creek. So it kind of accomplishes stuff for them. Kingsway, it's 3 non-conference matches, so they're looking to go and get extra matches. Epsigami, same thing. It's 3 non-conference matches for them. So, they'd like to test themselves against a tough Buna team, get a tough Kingsway team in there, and then for them also, Cedar Creek is a rivalry match. So it kind of differs. Like I said, it's that fine line. You don't want to beat your guys up too badly, kind of thing. You want to test yourself, and in wrestling, like no other sport, the only way to get better is to test yourself and take some losses and get beat up a little bit. So it's kind of that fine line to walk. You're trying to get that conference schedule out of the way. You're trying to get some non-conference stuff, see some different styles. I don't envy these guys with their scheduling.
We're talking with John O'Kane here for the Press of Atlantic City wrestling reporter. John, a team that's going to take some lumps this morning is going to be Egg Harbor Township. What a quad down there with when you're talking about Clearview, Timber Creek, and West Deptford. I was actually talking briefly to Mike Chiaz at the basketball game last night, and he said, hey, we're just going to try to survive tomorrow. How cool is that quad? I mean, you're talking about some top-notch teams in South Jersey.
Absolutely. He's underselling it a little bit, if you ask me. The Egg Harbor Township, they've got a lot of talented kids. They've got a deep lineup. They might be delivering some lumps today. I wouldn't be surprised if they win 2 out of 3 of those. They're right there with West Deptford. West Deptford's a tough team. That's going to be tough for them. Clearview, it would take a perfect match from EHT to beat Clearview. Clearview's just got, killers in the middle there with Stanley Atkinson transferring in from Kingsway. On top of Van Brill, Zach Firestone. I mean, they've got depth on top of depth. But I like EHT would be the big favorite against Timber Creek, so I wouldn't be surprised if those guys take 2 out of 3. So, but even still, you are resting some tough kids, and it is tough. You're having some of your tough guys go 2 and 3 times in a day. So, it's a marathon, not a sprint for these guys. But yeah, I think he's underselling himself a little bit there.
Talk a little bit about these Clearview guys, Firestone and Van Brill. Obviously, they've made names for themselves over the last couple of years. Van Brill's older brother had a real nice career. How far can they go this year in states, and what are some expectations for the Clearview guys going forward?
Those guys are right there. You're absolutely right. And then, like I said, you throw Stanley Atkinson into the mix too, transferred from Kingsway. So they go back to back to back right there. And they got a couple tough guys around them. Ayush Patel, some other guys on top of them. They're right there. I mean, Firestone, local fans know him. He kind of went back and forth with Darcy a little bit. He beat an undersized Darcy a few years ago after Darcy beat him. And then Darcy turned around and returned the favor in the state tournament. So they kind of went back and forth. He's already committed to Bucknell, I believe. And then Van Brill, he's the younger brother of John Van Brill, who's up at Rutgers Wrestling. Just great pedigree, tough kids. I wouldn't be surprised if either one of those makes a serious shot at getting into that state final.
What about this Patel kid from Vineland? A lot of times a team like that who really isn't on the radar in terms of the South Jersey top 15, mean 15, and all that stuff, they can produce a wrestler here and there that can really surprise people, and he's done well so far this year.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of guys like that. Vineland. I tell you, the younger Cosby, Tyrek Cosby. He's another one. He's a guy that kind of flies under the radar. You're right with some of these teams. Another guy, Cedar Creek. Cedar Creek might not have a whole lot of team success, but you got Andrew Solomon there, who's Cedar Creek's only district champion in school history, cousin of C.J. Mays and the guys that Oakcrest fans will remember. Is making a serious run at a couple state titles there. But yeah, he's another guy. Andrew Solomon, don't be surprised if he comes out of the district regions and gets down to states and makes a serious run at 138. That's always the fun thing, too, is as much as it's nice to have this team success, there are some individual guys that kind of pop up and really have that talent to take a run.
I might have mixed up some names. Patel is from where again?
Ayush Patel is from Clearview. He's the younger guy.
Oh, okay. I got him mixed up with Youssef from Vineland.
Yeah, Yusuf Yilmaz. He's super tough. Super tough. I mean, he's going to have a tough road. He's in that middle of he's 145, 152 area. That's a little tougher road to climb there. But absolutely, he's absolutely tough. And I was really impressed with him with winning the Marinelli title a couple weeks ago. Kind of came out. He was the 4 seed, I believe, knocked off the top seed. He is. You're absolutely right. I mean, he is a tough guy. Absolutely right. And then, like I said, the younger Cosby brother. From up there too in Vineland. A couple guys, even though they're not going to have a whole lot of team success, they're young. Vilmaz is a junior, and I believe Cosby's a sophomore. But there are a couple guys once you get to that district part of the season, gives those guys something to root for.
What about a guy like Terrell Coleman at Egg Harbor Township? Doesn't say a whole lot, obviously. You and I have both tried to get some quotes out of him. He kind of just you don't have a whole lot to say, but he's had an interesting career, and he could quietly be a guy who makes some noise there at the lower weights.
You're absolutely right. I mean, like I was a lot of times that 106 weight class, that 113 weight class, even 120 to a certain respect is kind of underclassmen heavy just because of the nature of the size of the guys and things like that. In Coleman, you've got a junior there going 113. I mean, you've got, that combination. He's got plenty of speed, plenty of athleticism, and then you've got the brains to go with it kind of thing, that experience to go with it. Like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a real nice run there at 113, just because you don't get too many juniors and seniors. That's a freshman, sophomore-dominated weight class, and that's a real advantage for him going forward.
What about one of your guys over there at Absegami? Geigold has had a pretty good career. He's faced a lot of tough wrestlers throughout his career. What are you expecting from him down a stretch here? He's
another one. He continued Absegami's streak. They've got 30 straight years with the district champion. He was the one to keep that streak alive last year, winning the district title there. He's at 120 pounds this year. Again, that's a junior with some experience. There's more juniors and seniors there than people realize, but he's another guy with experience, wrestles all year, works his tail off. Not too many people work harder in the room. He's definitely a guy that can make a run and turn some heads at 120. Don't be surprised if he takes a run at the second district title and maybe possibly gets down to state for the first time with a top 3 finish at Region 8.
Good stuff, John. And anything else before we let you go?
No, those guys, St. Augustine Prep, I know I keep talking about those guys. They're down in Virginia Beach right now, the lucky guys. But no, they're actually down there for the work business trip. They won 2 matches yesterday. They'll face nationally ranked Nazareth, PA today in the semifinals of that tournament. Nazareth is 30th in the country. And then Southern Regional for those guys, that didn't see it online and things like that. Unfortunately, they were scheduled to host Howell today, which would have been an amazing match, 2 of the top 10 teams in the state. But that match ended up being canceled. Howell, I guess, had too many weigh-ins this week. So just a couple updates on those guys.
Good stuff, John. We'll catch up with you next week, and enjoy the weekend.
Absolutely, Sully. Thanks for having me, man. I always appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks, buddy.
We'll see you.
That was John O'Kane from the Press of Atlantic City.